Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, and tonight I'm bringing you my review on the new Ridley Scott film, The Last Duel, starring Jodie Comer, Adam Driver, Matt Damon, and Ben Affleck, and a few others. And as you can tell, I'm by myself tonight, which is actually a really interesting conversation that I'm going to be having about some of the failures of the marketing of this film, which I'm getting into very quickly. As Chris wanted to be here, and is not been able to see the film, which I'm going to get into because it's really sad, in absolute truth, about what's happened to this film release. Before I start getting into all that and all the ranting and all that kind of stuff that's going to come with this, because I really enjoyed this film and it's a shame people have missed out. I want to hear from you guys first of all. Do you like the film? Comment below. Comment your thoughts on The Last Duel. I'm gonna. Oh, am I going to keep this spoiler free? I'm going to keep this spoiler free tonight. So if you haven't seen the film, don't worry. I'm not going to say anything drastically spoilerish. I just want to hear your thoughts if you've seen it, if you've not, if you wanted to watch it but haven't been able to watch it. That's a question I'm very curious about. So do comment your thoughts on this film, and if you have seen it, please keep it spoiler free because again, not many people have had the chance to check this one out. That being said, obviously this is new reviewed. There's been an insane amount of reviews on the channel this week. Kristen Tate did Halloween Kills. There was also a review out for Venom at the Bicage of myself and Charlie. Festival coverage from last week as well. So lots of new releases, and they're not stopping anytime soon. So I'm just going to leave that there. And if you haven't followed us before, if you're new to the channel, hit us up on our social medias, Twitter at cinema_savvy, Facebook and letterboxd.com/cinema savvy. Of course, we have a link to TeePublic in that description below. But yes, as I've kind of already hinted at, this is a film that's had a very unfortunate release. I'm actually going to even go before the marketing, the announcement of this film. Um, I was really hyped for this. Obviously, I don't need to tell anyone on the channel that Adam Driver is my favorite actor. I'm a massive fan of his work. I really like Matt Damon. I really like Ben Affleck, and it's lovely to see Ben Affleck on the mend. I want to say that as well. Obviously, post COVID and everything, he seems to have had a massive turnaround, which is amazing to see. But this is a film that, on paper, again, directed by Ridley Scott. I even forgot him. When the day they announced this, I was in. You know, a Ridley Scott film with my favorite actor in. Jodie Comer, I've not seen Killing Eve, but I know that the talent she has, the reputation she has, and this is one that had me hooked from the get go, from the concept idea. I know that it's obviously about the last ever duel in France. They didn't really make a point of saying that. It's just a great title, but this was, I believe, the last duel on record in France, which was a big thing. There was a book this adapted from sort of 17 years ago, I think 2004 time. But I was very excited. And obviously, COVID came. This was one of the first films post COVID that finished filming. They were filming it before and sort of during, I guess you could say, sort of last summer when things were trying to get back to normal. So, this is one that I've been looking forward to. And obviously, it got an October release date. And I thought, great, that could be at the film festival. That could be in contention for Oscars. That could be premiered at Venice, maybe. It was premiered somewhere. Maybe it was Venice last day. I can't remember. But this is a film $100 million spent that has been probably one of the biggest bombs of COVID so far. And I have to talk about that first because Disney have done a terrible job of marketing this. So you might be surprised by me saying the word Disney. This is 20th Century Fox. Obviously, you got to drop. I guess you got to drop the Fox now. 20th Century Studios. Sorry, it says owned by Disney, but still, there's nonetheless. It was lovely to hear the thing when the film opened, but I just can't not talk about the disappointment of the marketing campaign. The first trailer was okay. The first poster I really enjoyed. That's the thumbnail tonight, and there's just been nothing. There's been other posters that look generic, and there was some awful TV spots where they do that awful freeze frames to read out things, and no one knew this film was coming out unless you really wanted to know about the film coming out. This is someone that follows Adam Driver and I guess the industry as well, obviously. But if Adam Driver wasn't in this film, I wouldn't have paid as much attention to marketing. And I would have known it was coming out on October the 15th. But like some films where I'm dead set on knowing the months in advance, I wouldn't have had that effect. And again, the trailers have done nothing to sort of boost this. And we're here a week after it's come out. My cinema last week, I did a double bill, this followed by Venom. Obviously, you know, Bond is out and it's great, it's doing for the box office. But to release this film so close after Bond, on the same day as Halloween, on the same week as Venom, and expect this to be a hit after not marketing it, it's a real shame. And I have to start. It's a real shame, and the fact that this film is out of cinemas. I think Charlie's at a screening tomorrow, and there's like one. She's not even gone to cinema. She had to go to Odeon. Chris couldn't get to a screening tonight, and for the odd cinemas that are showing it, it's like one a day, and it's at like 11 p.m. at night, which is really frustrating as well. So this is a film that has been absolutely massacred, and I have to kickstart before I give my thoughts on that. That not many people have had a chance to watch this. And for those that have, fair play for checking out. Absolutely, this hasn't been released online. I'm sure they'll try and speed up an online release now. I wouldn't be surprised if it was on Disney Plus anytime soon under Star. But yeah, it's a real shame because as my initial thoughts go, I loved this film. This was a really, really interesting film for me. And Ridley Scott as a director is someone that I've not seen a lot of his films in absolute truth. I've seen all the big ones. I've seen some ones people don't want to talk about, like Exodus. But he is, a staple of cinema. Ridley Scott is a cinematic presence. And again, when he took on this, I was like, Adam Driver doing a period piece. I was like, okay, I'm in. With Ridley Scott, and it's sort of medieval. Then you bring in that cast, and they do look a bit weird, some of them, but I'll get into that when we get into the characters. But no, I had a lot of fun with this film. It's a very powerful film, I think, is worth mentioning as well. That this film, like, obviously, the subject matter of it, obviously, Jodie Comer's character is raped, and it's essentially the story of they're fighting essentially for her. Adam Driver says he didn't do it. Matt Damon says he did, and they have to fight to the death. And God chooses the winner, as they say. And it's very tough at scenes. I'm actually going to mention this as well. 18 rated in the UK. Not had that for a long time, and I think it's fully warranted. There was I think Robbie Connor from the Telegraph did a blog on last weekend saying that it was foolish. This is an 18. I actually tweeted saying I disagree massively. This film should be an 18. They show a rape scene twice. The violence is very violent, and I'm not against that at all. That there's blood, there's swords. It's a medieval. It's a Ridley Scott film. If you've seen Gladiator, you'll know. And I think this being an 18 isn't a problem, and this isn't why the film has failed because you can still get 18-year-olds in a cinema to go and watch stuff. But again, it comes down to the failure of the marketing. But I'm going to kickstart this talking about the characters. I'm actually going to kickstart with Jodie Comer. Kind of, she's the lead role. They're marketing her for lead actress for the Oscars, which we'll talk about. But she's phenomenal in this film. And again, as someone that hasn't seen Killing Eve, I've not seen much. I think she was in Free Guy. I don't really count the Rise of Skywalker with that little cameo playing Rey's mom, but Jodie Comer is an actress that's had so many people talking highly of her, and it's a kind of shame I've not seen anything before this one because she was superb in this. She's the best thing in this film. She absolutely holds her own. She absolutely destroys people like Matt Damon when she's in scenes with them, and Adam Driver. She's such a good actress. It was really exciting to see her on the big screen in a film, and also she just when you have all the period pieces, I think you get some actors and actresses that look like they're sort of born to be in that era, and some look like they shouldn't. Jodie Comer fitted that really well. I realized what they did of her with her character. Again, it's very tough viewing at times, which is what some people have said they struggled with, which I completely understand. But what I love with her character is that she is the forefront of it, and the story choices of this film align you with Jodie Comer naturally, and it's a really interesting take, sort of seeing how back in the time that they never valued the input of a woman back then, that all the legalities had to come via the husband, and it's really interesting to see a medieval film like that because that's not something I've seen before that's been executed well or executed at all in truth. It was a really interesting thing for Ridley Scott to do with the film. It's 2 hours 40, I have to say that, and I don't feel like the runtime is actually long. Obviously, it tells as it says in the trailer that the story is told three times, one from each perspective, very much like Rashomon. I think a lot of people have compared it to, and I kind of got that when I saw it as three things. So, okay, is it going to be ambiguous? We're going to get a definitive. This is what happened, and we do get that in this film, which is very important because I think it wouldn't have worked if we didn't get that. But again, I think Jodie Comer steals this film. She's at the forefront of it, a tragic character, but a fierce character. And like I said, she puts her stamp on it and she outshines an incredible supporting cast, which is going to lead me on to Matt Damon. I'm laughing because of the mullet. If you've seen the film, you know about the mullet. Matt Damon's fine in this film. I really enjoy him as an actor. Obviously, he's worked with Ridley Scott before. Him teaming with Ben Affleck obviously is always obviously a big moment for their fans, and obviously with everything they've done together in the past. And I believe that Ben Affleck was originally meant to play the role Adam Driver did, which I now see Adam Driver, and I can't see Ben Affleck doing it. But it would have been great to see these two come up against each other head to head. But I thought Matt Damon was okay. I thought he was probably not that he's bad, but he's the weakest of the main four. That I think his character's mullet and the facial prosthetics don't help his performance compared to what the others are able to do. But I do think he's okay, and he's actually playing quite an unlikable character, which is what I really enjoyed because I don't really think we've seen Matt Damon do that all too often. But I thought he was exceptional as a part of the grand scheme of things in that role. And obviously, that's going to segue us talking about Adam Driver, who's obviously playing the villain of the film. He's phenomenal. I mean, he's phenomenal at everything, so I'm going to be biased, of course I am. But in this film, he does something I've never seen actors do before. He can like twirl a cape like never before. There's a scene when he's literally like twirling a cape, and you think it's some like CGI Hunger Games thing, but no, that's just him on the room stealing the scene. So Adam Driver's quality, and also it's a period piece, isn't it? So it's 14th century France, and Adam Driver just looks like he's been plucked out of that era. Give him a sword, give him a horse, let him fight. Absolutely perfect. You don't need to do anything else. He's so naturally suited for that. I think that was perfect casting for him to be with Ridley Scott. And also the fact that after this film, he obviously shot House of Gucci with Ridley Scott, which we'll be seeing very soon. So it's interesting to see those two working together. I'm curious to see what he's going to be like in that film. But I thought he was a standout in this for me. And Ben Affleck is incredible with the bleach blonde hair, most ridiculous costume I've ever seen, and he's loving every minute of it. It's kind of what I said at the beginning that with Ben Affleck, obviously he had his issues and whatnot. Obviously, he was also in the DC stuff, and he's obviously struggling with his personal life. And it's just amazing to see that he's been able to put a lot of that behind him. Whether he's moved on, obviously he's very public with his relationship with JLo again now, and it's really nice to seeing him doing interviews, smiling, being around people. He's lost a lot of weight. He looks in really good shape. We always said if you watch the Justice League, especially the Josh Whedon version, there's just something about him from a looking viewpoint that just something doesn't look right with him. He looked a bit ill. And obviously, we do know that was some real stuff, but it's lovely to see him back in this film. And again, being with Matt Damon, who he's obviously close with, and taking a really small supporting role, but having a tremendous impact with it is something I like seeing. And he's not a comedy relief character, but he is very much a character that has these comedy moments. And that's something that I kind of need to address as well. So this film's not funny at all, but there are moments with it where they bring personality into these characters, and I think Ben Affleck more so than any of the others. His character is very snidey. The sort of the upper class. He's the cousin of a king, and he's always obviously had his way with people. And Ben Affleck's just loving every second of it. And I thought he was really, really good in this. Obviously, what a lot of people have criticized is obviously how Ben Affleck and Matt Damon both look in the film, like how they look so different to Jodie Comer and Adam Driver, which is valid criticism because once you get your head past the mullet and the bleach blonde hair for both of them, I think you're in. But if you can't get past that, you're going to struggle for 2 hours and 40 minutes. And it's really interesting. This film is set in France, yet the film has no French accents, but it's not American accents, it's not British accents. It's the really weird twang they're all doing. It's kind of like they half thought about a bit of Shakespeare type language and then sort of dipped out of it as it came to speaking it. So the accents are odd. I do want to say that. And I know a lot of people don't like films where it's set in regions and they don't have their accents. And I also completely understand that, but I didn't have an issue. But it did feel very weird when they're like, we're traveling to Normandy. It's like, oh yeah, you are in France, aren't you? That you could think this is set in England or anywhere in truth that medieval period. But obviously they didn't go with French actors, which I don't mind. Um, and I'm also going to sort of segue that talking about the era as well. We know Ridley Scott can shoot action. He's very good at shooting action. And as I said, I've not seen all of his films, so it's unfair for me to say, is this a great set piece? But when a film's called The Last Duel and the concept is them having, a duel, it's about the build up to it. And it was actually really interesting. And this goes to the credit of the story that when I was watching it, I was so invested in the characters in the drama that when you reach the duel at the end, it feels earned. And the actual duel itself, it's choreographed really well. The action's quality, it's violent, it's tough. You don't know who's going to win if you don't know the story. If you have read the book, then I'd imagine you'd know. But I kept away from reading because I wanted to go in blind. And it was a really interesting experience to build up to the action. That I came out of this with a really weird comparison that might upset some people, but I actually thought of Revenge of the Sith. That you have this epic Anakin versus Obi-Wan, and it's built up to that for obviously so many years of a franchise. And this isn't a franchise that's built over years, but the film is able to build up the relationships between all of the characters at once, whether it's Ben Affleck and Matt Damon or Adam Driver with Jodie Comer. Again, all of them each have their own story arc with one another. And I think when you get to that last duel with what the stakes are involving Jodie Comer's character, you are firmly rooting for her. I think if you weren't, there's probably some unnatural evil inside of you, but is a credit to Ridley Scott's direction that you're able to reach that point. If you didn't care for a character by the time you get to the finale, you're going to struggle. You're not going to care and lessen its impact, which may be something some people have had. But I thought this was really well done. Again, the action and the direction of this film. And, I'm not going to jump on the usual Ridley Scott best film since insert Gladiator here. People do that stuff all the time. I'd say I don't think this is as good as The Martian. two completely different films, but this is a very, very good film. It's a shame it's not had the release that I can't go and see it again at some point. Obviously, I'll pick up the Blu-ray. I do want to support this film, but it's a crying shame how they massacred this. Which kind of leads me on to my final thoughts of the film. That I absolutely recommend this film. I would normally say go and watch it at the cinema, and I'm now going to say if you can find it at the cinema, please try and watch it. You might not be able to actually physically see it, so it's sad, it's frustrating, and I think it is one of the biggest victims of COVID. There is no denying that this film would have been released earlier in the year if obviously filming gone properly or something like that. But they held out for this film to October, but they've not done a good job at marketing it. They could have released this in mid-September. This could have been easily a couple of weeks before Bond here in the UK. Venom nabbed that slot in America. They had a chance to do it and they didn't pull the trigger after Shang-Chi started making money. And it's unfortunately their loss, but it's also a loss for the people at home that do want to watch something different. A lot of people are jumping around saying you need to support original concepts. I agree with that. But if they're not marketing and showing the original concept, how is one meant to support it? So it's really frustrating talking about this film, not knowing that not many people have had the chance to see it. And if they had seen it, to get into the mood to see a film like this at 10 at night, whether it was a school day or work day or anything like that, it's 2 hours 40 minutes plus adverts plus travel there and back. You're looking at getting home at like essentially 1 o'clock if you're doing any late showing. So again, it's a crying shame what's happened to this film, but I thoroughly recommend it. It was a really fun experience. I don't think it's in my top 10 of the year. It might be sitting in sort of maybe the top 15, maybe-ish, but I enjoyed this film. Again, it's another Adam Driver film ticked off the list for me. It's great to see Ridley Scott on. It's made me want to watch some of his other stuff that I've not seen, which is always a good sign, but I may have to hold off that till House of Gucci comes out. But I'm also going to round off my final thoughts. If you didn't get the glaring recommendation enough, I think this is. They were talking about a Jodie Comer nomination for Best Actor at the Oscars. I would love to see it. I think Kristen Stewart's already won the Oscar, but I think the race to see who could be second, if there was such a thing, I think Jodie Comer's got a really good chance of getting nominated, and that is something I would like to see because she's phenomenal. Whether they try and campaign the other actors in Best Supporting Actor, I don't know yet. If they were, they could either go for Ben Affleck out of comedy reasons that he has a lasting impact on a film, or if they do want to make it serious, you can go for Adam Driver. But he has already been better this year in Annette, which he was superb in. So this is one of those where it's going to be interesting to see what happens come the Oscars. And has this film bombed so much it will harm the chances of their nominations? I don't know, but certainly for production design, for costume, I think this has got a real shot of being nominated come next year. And I just hope there's a way in which this can catch second wind if they can get it on a streaming service in time before the nominations all come and go. Because for this film to be out for a week and essentially out of cinemas is a massive shame, and that's how I've got to end this review, is just talking about that criticism. And again, I'm doing this review by myself today. I've not been able to get Chris on for it. He has tried to see the film. He's not been able to see it in the right way, and there's so many other things coming out, which is also a half interesting segue point. And I'm always trying to get the segues done better. So coming tomorrow, a film we both have seen is obviously Dune. We're going to get our spoiler review out tomorrow evening. We're going to be live on the channel, 8 p.m. Saturday, the 23rd of October. We'll be talking about Dune in detail. Very, very interesting film, and hopefully we've got some box office numbers out to have a look at by the time that comes out. But that's obviously one of the big ones. We've also got the Bond content still coming. Obviously, we finished our Bond retrospective and we're doing a couple of extra films. So on Tuesday, we're going to go live with the original 1967 Casino Royale spoof film. Neither of us have seen that before, so do check us out on that one. It's meant to be awful. I'm half nervous, but half interested in seeing it. And we've also got coming this Sunday, the 24th, on the channel, our discussion video on the James Bond, what we'd love to see in a future Bond film, like actors, directors, who we'd want to see. We each kind of half pick our own film in good spirit and see how it comes together. So if you like your Bond stuff, we've still got Bond content coming. We're going to make that a consistent thing on the channel. And as always, if you are new to the channel, if you don't know where you can find us, where we're around, get us on social medias, Twitter at cinema_savvy, Facebook and letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy. We log our reviews all on there and lists and whatnot. So do check us out. Again, it's been fun to talk about this film, but it's also obviously slightly aggravating in the manner in which you have to speak about this film. So I want to thank everybody for watching at home. Be sure to see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.